Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Courtney and I am a stay-at-home homeschooling mom. I like to do a lot of mom-related content on my channel, grocery hauls, cooking, cleaning, homeschool life, family life, all of that kind of great stuff. Today I am bringing you guys a what's for dinner video. These are the three main meals we had for dinner this past week. So kicking it off, I am making some spinach bacon gnocchi. This is really a simple recipe. I have made this a couple of times before because it is pretty quick and pretty easy. I don't really make anything to go with it unless I serve a side salad. It is very, very filling. So the first thing I did was to get a fresh bundle of spinach. I washed it and now I am picking all of the leaves off of the stems. I don't really care for the stems at all. They're just kind of weird texture in the middle of a dish, so I went ahead and got rid of those. And then I'm just going to coarsely chop the spinach. Of course, it's going to wilt down when we cook it, but this just makes it a little better when you're trying to eat it. It's not long and stringy or anything like that. Next, I've got some bacon. I think I had about 7 or 8 slices total. It was just a little bit that I had left over in my freezer. So I went ahead and sliced this up into some small chunks, and we're going to start off by sauteing that on the stovetop. All right, it is time for the magic to happen. We are over at the stovetop and it's time to cook this bacon. Who does not love delicious crispy bacon in a dish? I don't think you can go wrong adding it to almost anything. So we're going to go ahead and just let this start rendering down. I have a gas stove and it seems to cook a little high. So I have this set below medium, but not quite to low. And I'm going to let this cook for a good 15, maybe even 20 minutes until it has really cooked down quite a bit. It's mostly crispy. There's a ton of extra fat in the pan. We're going to be using that bacon grease to saute some other veggies and stuff. So we want as much of that rendered out as we can possibly get before we move on to anything else. Now, I know this is a time-consuming process, but this is one of those moments where you do want to use raw bacon and cook it. You don't want the pre-cooked stuff. You want all of that good, delicious bacony flavor to come through in this dish. We're pairing it with gnocchi, which is a potato pasta. It does have a pretty bland flavor, so we are really depending on this bacon to really add a big pop of flavor to this dish. All right, our bacon cooked down. It's crispy and delicious. There is a lot of extra grease in the skillet. We're going to throw in some onion. My onion was on the small side, so I just went ahead and tossed in the entire thing. If you're using a regular size onion, I would say do about half of it. Now, I did not do like any kind of fine mince on this. It's a pretty sizable dice, but this is going to cook down so much that you're not going to end up with big chunks of onion at the end of the day. It's going to be fine. Now, if you really are kind of like not into onion, you might want to do it a little finer, but I don't even recall feeling the onion in my mouth at any point. So this was great. Once the onions have cooked down a bit, I did go ahead and toss in some mushrooms. I used about half a carton of pre-sliced mushrooms from my store. I didn't want to go over the top with the mushrooms because a lot of people in my household are not huge fans of them. Personally, I love them. I think they are delicious raw. They're delicious cooked. One of my favorite things, but other people not so much. So I went pretty light on them. You can toss in more if that's your thing and your entire family enjoys them. It's up to you. Cook with your heart. Whatever feels good, whatever sounds good, whatever you're into, that's what you want to do. Don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to toss in different ingredients and test it out. Just get in the kitchen and be adventurous. All right, so I do have some diced sun-dried tomatoes that I tossed in there. They came diced in the jar. If yours are whole, please do dice them, chop them up, something like that. Their flavor is pretty strong. I went very light. I'm going to say probably about a quarter cup at most in here. Like I said, the flavor is just so strong. You do want a little bit of sun-dried tomato with each bite, but you don't want it to overpower everything in the dish. Then I tossed in some garlic. I was pretty heavy-handed with it because we really like garlic in my household. I would say it was probably about 2, maybe 3 cloves of garlic, but you do you. If that's too much, go lighter. If you like it more, go heavier. Season with your heart. And then I tossed in all of that spinach that I had taken the stems off of and done a little fine chop on there. And I'm just going to let that wilt down for a few minutes and get, cooked and ready to go before we add any other ingredients. Spinach cooks fast, doesn't take long. I mean, you can literally see it just melting here because I sped the video up a little bit, and that's perfect. Look at that. There's no long stringy pieces because we did chop the spinach up a little bit. It's going to be perfectly bite-sized when we move on to eat. And now I'm going to go ahead and pour in some heavy whipping cream. I did probably about 3/4 of a cup of heavy whipping cream, and then I tossed in about a half a cup of Parmesan. Now, yeah, I do prefer freshly grated or something like that, but I had one of those giant green shakers in my fridge, and that's all I had. So we just went with the green shaky stuff. And look at that. Once we let it render down and cook a little bit with an extra half cup of heavy cream in there, that sauce is thick and creamy and rich. So next to this, you can see that pot I have on the stove. I had been boiling some salted water. I tossed my gnocchi in there. It takes about 2 minutes and they float to the top. So I just went ahead and pulled them out and tossed them in this skillet. And I'm going to go ahead and cook them with the sauce for another couple of minutes. Let them, really get coated and flavored in this sauce. And then this dish is done. It is ready to serve. It is hearty. It's delicious. It's packed full of flavor. And there are some veggies in there too, so it's not too bad. But look at that. Wouldn't you love to have that on a cool fall evening? Come home to that nice hearty meal so full of flavor. It is delicious, you guys. You've got to try it. All right, so the next night I did go ahead and make some homemade pizza. We really enjoy homemade pizza. I don't think I make it as often as my family would enjoy. So I might start making it a little more often. Who knows? We'll see how it goes. I did start off with a tablespoon of yeast in the bottom of my bowl there. And then I've got a cup of warm water and I stirred in about 1.5 tablespoons of honey. Got it all dissolved and I'm pouring it in there with the yeast. So that combination has sugar in it and water, and that's going to feed the yeast and help it grow. And look how foamy it got in about 5 minutes. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's releasing all that gas, and that is going to give us beautiful pizza dough later. So I added about 2 tablespoons of olive oil and about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then we're just going to add our flour, and we've got dough. Now, I am pretty cautious with my flour. I start off with about 1.5 cups, and then I go ahead and turn on my mixer and let it mix. Depending on, how much humidity you have in the air, what your elevation is, all of that kind of stuff, it differs every time you make pizza dough. So I really do like to kind of be cautious with it. I knew 1.5 cups of flour was pretty much not going to be enough, but I always start off with that just to get it going. And you'll see that I do stop the mixer a couple of times. It's still sticky. I add in some more flour. At the end, I had added a total of 2.5 cups of flour to my dough. All right, this dough ball looks perfect. Absolutely perfect. This is what we're looking for. It does not stick to my fingers. It's soft and it springs back when you touch it. So I'm going to go ahead and coat it with just a tiny bit of olive oil, about 2 tablespoons. I'm going to roll it around, get the olive oil on the side of the bowls, and that way when the dough rises, it does not stick. And then we're going to cover that, set it off to the side, and let it do its thing for about an hour to an hour and a half. Now it's time to prep the topping for our pizza. This is one of those season with your heart moments. Whatever you like is what you should throw on your pizza. I am making 3 different pizzas because people in my household all like different things. I'm going to go ahead and start by chopping and prepping all of my veggies. As you can see, I have the other half of that mushroom container over there. And then I have sliced up half of an onion. And I'm going to go ahead and thinly slice up those bell peppers right there. I have both some black and green olives, and I also have some pepperoni in my fridge. Everybody in my house, for the most part, likes pepperoni. I don't really do Italian sausage or anything else, but if that's your jam, you totally do that. You do what makes you happy, what your family likes. Okay, our toppings are prepped and our dough has risen. I did not show it, but I did make my own pizza sauce. Totally simple. I opened a can of tomato sauce. I added in a little bit of sugar, some salt and pepper, some garlic powder, onion powder, and Italian seasoning. Stirred it up, and that is what I will be putting on 2 of the pizzas. No need to run out and buy a jar of sauce. So simple to make your own. The half a can of tomato sauce was less than $1, so this was perfect. As you can see, I do have some little hands over there helping me out today. That's fantastic. I'm so thrilled that one of my kids is really into the idea of helping me cook. He wanted to help roll out the dough, and I thought this was definitely the perfect meal for little hands to jump in and work with. He had never felt dough before. He thought it felt pretty cool, and he was learning how to use the rolling pin. As you can see there, he's really good at copying all my movements. He did a great job. He did roll out one of the pizzas. I was so proud of him. He did fantastic, followed all of my instructions. But I did cut this up into 3 little pizzas. They're not like huge pizzas, but each pizza would serve 2 to 3 people, depending on how much you eat, or you can have leftovers, whatever you choose to do. So we're rolling those out and putting them on 3 different pans. All right, now I did take each one of those pizza crusts, pop it in the oven for about 5 minutes at 400 degrees just to get that dough started cooking. That way I am sure that it will cook all the way through. None of it's doughy and gummy when we're done. And as you can see, the little hands are still helping me. Now, one tip I have for you, I like that cheese pull that's so popular, The way to get that when you're making pizza is 2 types of cheeses. I always top it with mozzarella, your traditional pizza cheese. And then as you can see, we are ripping up some slices of provolone. Provolone is what gives you that cheese pull. That is a super melty cheese. It's so delicious. You won't notice a flavor difference, but it is definitely the way to go for pizza. Now, when making 3 separate pizzas, we all like different things. So this first pizza that we're working on here, I made with my oldest in mind. It does have onions, black olives, bell peppers, and pepperoni. I did go light with the cheese. He does not really like cheese, but he does like pizza. Pizza has cheese. All right, let's move on to this next pizza. This one I'm keeping really nice and simple. It's a smaller one because less people were interested in this simple pizza. I put a little of my homemade sauce on there. If you're curious, that is just a can of tomato sauce with some sugar, salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, and Italian seasoning. I'm topping it with some mozzarella and some provolone cheese. As you can see, we did go a little bit heavier. This is more what you want when you're making pizza. And then we're going to keep this one simple. It's going to have black olives and pepperoni on it, and that is going to be that. A nice, simple, easy pizza, but full of flavor. Making your own crust just really changes the game when it comes to pizza. It just really brings something special to the table, and it makes a huge difference. You're going to love it. You've got to try it. It's really not that hard. And then after this, we're going to move on to my personal favorite pizza here. This is a vegetable pizza. I don't really care for meat on my pizza. This one is loaded down with veggies. I also don't like pizza sauce on mine, so I put a little bit of olive oil, salt, pepper, oregano, and garlic powder. That is just the sauce for my pizza. On top of that, I'm going to pile 2 kinds of cheeses, just like we have on all the other pizzas. And then I'm going to top it with as many veggies as I can fit on this piece of crust. I've got bell peppers, mushrooms, black olives, green olives, and onions, and some sun-dried tomatoes. I'm going to pile it high. I'm going to pop it in the oven, and I'm going to bake it at 400 degrees for about 12 minutes. Everything's going to kind of wilt down a little bit. It is still like a hefty pizza because I put so much stuff on there, but super delicious. And here are our 3 finished pizzas, the pepperoni and black olive. Then we have the pepperoni, black olive, onion, bell pepper pizza. And finally, my favorite, the vegetable pizza at the end. So delicious, you guys. All right, it's time for the last meal of the week. I did see this on a YouTube video. I cannot remember for sure where I saw it, and I cannot find the video now in my watch history. So I'm just going to kind of run down the recipe with you guys here. It is 1 jar of chili sauce. I did add about, 3 tablespoons of water in there to get the last of the sauce out of the jar, and 1 jar of pepper jelly. I'm just putting them inside of my Ninja Foodi, which doubles as a slow cooker among other things. I do have it set to the saute function right now, heating it up so that I can kind of get these 2 ingredients incorporated a little bit. They are the sauce. The pepper jelly, of course, is jelly. It's thick, it's sticky, that sort of thing. So the heat really helps it kind of melt down and render. And I'm just going to stir to combine while this is hot. And then I'm going to add in a small bag of frozen meatballs. And I cooked this on high for 4 hours, and it was good to go. All right, we definitely need a side for this dish tonight, so I decided on some roasted cauliflower. I had two giant heads from Sam's Club in my fridge, and I decided to just go ahead and cook both. I love cauliflower. I will eat the leftovers for days for lunch. It just makes me happy. My entire family likes roasted cauliflower. I did do this a little bit differently than what I have shown in the past, so tonight I am just going to top this with a little bit of olive oil, and then I'm going to use Kinder's The Blend, which is just salt, pepper, and garlic powder. It's really, really good. If you guys have not tried this, I suggest this. It is, for me, the perfect blend. I put salt, pepper, and garlic powder on almost everything I cook. So this is just the perfect spice blend for me. It's mixed really well. The ratios are ideal. Love this stuff. And then I'm going to add some dill to it because I really love the blend of dill and cauliflower together. I think it just tastes really, really good. I'm just going to kind of toss this around and pop this in a 400-degree oven. Normally, I would do it for about 20 minutes. I had so much cauliflower tonight, it took more like 45 minutes for this to kind of roast. And it still didn't get quite as crispy as I would have liked, but the flavor was on point and it was delicious. All right, the last thing I'm going to do, you'll see it here in just a minute, is I'm going to make some simple white rice. It is 1 cup of white rice that I have rinsed and drained, 1.5 cups of water, and 1 tablespoon of rice wine vinegar. Do not worry, you cannot taste the vinegar. It just helps keep the rice from getting sticky and clumpy. It just makes it come out absolutely perfect. I'm going to cook it on my stove top, and it'll be a quick and simple thing to serve the meatballs over. Those meatballs are so full of flavor. After 4 hours, they were completely done and ready to go. The cauliflower was perfectly roasted, and I just poured the meatballs and sauce on top of the rice. It was so delicious. You guys have got to try this one. Comment down below and let me know what you think. I hope that you guys will definitely give this a shot. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I totally appreciate each and every one of you so much. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Go ahead and click that bell so you know when I put out some new content, and click that subscribe button so you can keep up with what I'm doing. I will see you guys really soon with another video. Bye.